What's up, guys? Welcome to G Whiskey. I'm Jeff. This is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below, and with that out of the way, let's jump into our review. Today we're looking at the Laphroaig 2023 Cairdeas. Stick around. Alright, Laphroaig Cairdeas, and I'm 86.3% sure that that is the correct way of saying it, but of course if I said it incorrectly, there would be plenty of people who would politely correct me on it, and then there would be a few people in the comments who would smugly tell me that I'm wrong and that I don't know what I'm talking about. And while that last part is true, I don't, I just want to say for the record that I like the polite people more. And yeah, I know that getting unpronounceable Gaelic names right is very important to a lot of people out there, and I think that's fair. But to those people, I offer this counterpoint. I'm not really worried about it. That's not a counterpoint. Nevertheless, an effort was made. If I'm still wrong, I'll see you down there. Anyway, this one is not sold in my market, but luckily I have a friend named Jack in the States. First name Jack, last name in the States. And Jack was nice enough to bring a bottle of this stuff over on his last trip to Taiwan, so Jack, thank you very much. Now, this is a bottle I've been curious about for a while because it's been kind of divisive among Laphroaig fans, and it's also the first Cairdeas release under Barry McCaffer. The Cairdeas prior to this one was the 2022 release. That one was the Warehouse 1. That was the last release under John Campbell, who left Laphroaig, and I think he went on to work at Laphroaig. Anyway, a lot of people really liked that Warehouse 1 release. Now, I did like it too, but I didn't get quite as excited as a lot of other people seemed to. But still, good release, a very honest Laphroaig, no big loud cask involvement, great ABV, it was good. And of course, if you follow the channel, you know I'm not a huge Laphroaig fan, I never have been, but I have been kind of warming up to them over the last few years. I reviewed the quarter cask recently, liked it. I think the Sherry 10 is very good, I think the cask strength 10 is excellent. I should probably revisit the lore at some point. A lot of their older expressions are very good, so the brand is hit or miss for me, but they can and often do make very good whiskey. Anyway, let's zone in on this bottle specifically for a second. This one is a white port and Madeira finish, which actually sounds very interesting to me. White port in particular seems to be really taking off in the industry in the last few years, couple years even, not that long. And while I know that I do come off as a bit of a purist and I don't always like too much cask influence, which is kind of true, the vast majority of my favorite whiskeys are not purely refill bourbon matured. I like good cask play. It all comes down to, things like balance and execution. You guys know the drill. Point is, I do appreciate a good cask influence, and so far I've had pretty good luck with both white port and Madeira, so this one could be promising. In terms of reception, the vast majority of reviews for this do skew positive, and not that that really matters. First of all, we're all grown adults and we can make up our own mind about a whiskey. And second, if I'm being honest, a lot of these online reviewer types just come off as douchebags. Anyway, that seems to be all of our bases covered. No age stated Laphroaig, bourbon matured, finished in white port and Madeira. Could be interesting. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our review. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that would be greatly appreciated. For our specs, this one comes in at 52.3%. Those last two digits, 2.3, that's meant to correspond with 2023. Laphroaig does that with their Cairdeas releases sometimes. Non-chill filtered, probably, because it's a higher ABV. They don't tell us if it is or isn't. Natural color, we don't know. For looks, this is a typical Laphroaig bottle. I don't love it, I don't hate it. I do respect that they keep their bottle look very consistent. And I guess I kind of like the little pop of goldish color that we get there. Normal Laphroaig, nothing special. 2.5 out of 5. Of course, this is Laphroaig, so no information about color or chill filtration, but we do get some decent side info on the back. It does talk about how this is the first release from Barry McCaffer. It talks about the proportions with regards to Madeira casks and white port. So we're not without good information here, but we are without the essential information. Alright, so on the nose, this is an atypically rounded Laphroaig. So it is Laphroaig, we get the character, the smokiness, those coastal elements, those are all here, but they just have softer edges. One thing to note here too is that this leans less into the medicinal side of things. This is also very fruity. I get stuff like green grape juice, or not even green grape juice. I would say it's like white grape drink. That's in here. I get orange tang. Is orange tang a tasting note? Yes. Anyway, it's kind of like Sunny Delight, which is a very artificial, sugary type of orange drink back in the 90s. I'm sure some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. We also have some canned peaches in here, maybe some mangoes, and there's a really nice salty, peaty element that's kind of woven into all that fruitiness. Really nice nose. For the palate and finish, we have a very nice texture on the arrival here, and right away, this feels a lot more Islay than the nose did, so we get that big classic Laphroaig peat. Again, no real rough edges here, but we also haven't lost any intensity. Now, what's interesting about this stuff is about halfway through the palate, I would say, which is typically where Laphroaig starts really getting into those medicinal type notes. Here, instead of going in that direction, this one goes in more of a fruity direction. We get a lot of those fruits that we got on the nose. Those start to emerge on the palate. Once again, we get those green grapes, there's white grapes, there's white wine. I get sea salt, I get lime here. We get a medium to long finish lingering on cherry cola, oaky notes, and some interesting kind of umami type flavors. It's nice. Alright, so this is a very interesting whiskey, and I can see why it's divisive. For example, if you look at my buddy Sertug over at The Whiskey Enthusiast, he's mentioned that he is not a fan of this stuff. Meanwhile, my buddy Shane over at Whiskey Lock quite likes it. And the thing is, I like both those guys. So it's a genuine shame that after this video, I'm going to have to hate one of those guys for having a different opinion from mine. That's how whiskey friendships work. And bad news for Sertug here, I actually quite like this stuff, which means I have to hate you now. So I hate you, man. By the way, thank you for being a channel member. The support means a lot to me. But all joking aside, I do think this is a really good one. I might even go so far as to say that this is one of the best carchasses I've ever had. Carchasses? Carchasses? Carchasses. That's the one. So yeah, genuinely, I think this is one of the best carchasses I've ever had. I like the white port influence. I like the Madeira influence. They both left their mark, and they gave it this kind of rounded, almost bright, fruity sweetness. I think what I like best about this stuff is just how well integrated it is, because on one hand, you have these bright, fruity, juicy, grapey, clean white wine notes, and on the other, you have that Laphroaig smokiness, and of course, some of the more coastal elements. And all of that's woven together very beautifully here. I think the balance is fantastic. The casks did their job. Their flavors are on full display, but we also get the distillate. We also get the coastal elements, and they're not like separate. It's not like we have casks here and distillate here, and together they form Captain Planet. Instead, it's more like this is the cask, this is the distillate, and they present almost as like a single unit, as a single set of flavors. You know what? I don't know why I ended up doing this. About 15 seconds ago, I said this was very well integrated. Probably could have stopped there. I apologize. I do get carried away. Anyway, moving on. This is something that Shane also touched on in his review. This is not the peatiest Laphroaig. Laphroaig does have plenty of other releases that give us that big, straightforward peaty Laphroaig goodness, but the Carchas releases are a little bit more experimental. And when I say experimental, that's not to mean that it's gotta be very like casky or anything. If you look back at 2022, that was the Warehouse 1 release. That one worked very well with the purists. My point is more just that we can expect something different every year, so naturally, some people's tastes are going to align more with certain releases and less with others. Like I said, the purists, the traditionalists, they got on very well with the Warehouse 1. Whereas for this one, I think if you're looking for something traditional, this one might not be for you, but if you're open to experimentation, you might have a lot of fun here. That's what she said. As for me, I think this is one of my favorites from the Carchas line, and I'll go a step further and say this is probably one of my favorite Laphroaigs, just in general, especially at this price point. So I think this is a wildly successful experiment. I think it's fantastic. I really love that umami sweet grapiness in here. Not too sweet, don't worry, but very umami grapey, which is interesting. So kudos to Barry McAfee. Your first Carchas is a belter. For score, I'm landing on 88. So very interesting release, very delicious release in my book. It will have some people divided. It does use active casks. It does use wine casks, but I think it does so very successfully. Definitely one worth checking out. Now, before we jump into value, I'll give my little spiel really quickly. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who supports the channel, patrons, channel members, and if you want to help out, if you want to help keep the channel independent and financially sustainable, there are a number of ways that you can help. I have both Patreon and PayPal listed down below, guys. Anything and everything helps. And once again, a huge thank you to everyone who's already supporting. Now let's see if this is worth the money. So as I mentioned earlier, this bottle was a gift from a friend/subscriber. Again, thank you, Jack. But a quick Google search shows me that this is just over $85 in the United States. And for that, I think it is a fantastic deal. Oppositely, if you Google the prices for this in some UK websites, some places have this for over £100, and that is not a great deal. So it seems like we're getting quite a bit of variability in terms of price. Like I said, this one's not even sold at all here. I guess as a general rule, if you're in the United States, this is likely to be under $100. Go for it. And if it's more and you're in another market, I'll leave that up to you. Don't pay over £100. All right, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As I said earlier, I've got both Patreon and PayPal listed down below. And of course, I want to hear from you. So have you tried our Laphroaig Cairdeas 2023? What are your thoughts? As I said, it's a divisive one, so I'm looking forward to reading the comments here. Finally, down below, you can also let me know what you want to see me review down the line, and I'll keep that in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.